Hi everyone, Lizette here, and I'm going to show you another one of our make-ahead homemade staples for the holidays. And actually this one, again, is one you can use anytime, so I encourage you to make it as much as you can, when you run out. So it's so delicious. This is a compound butter, so that's the first butter recipe that I've got for you. And actually this is not really a recipe, it's just a method. So a compound butter, what it is herbs mixed with butter. And then you form it into a log. I'll show you how to do this. And then you can use that compound butter to flavor your sauces, to, spread on toast if you want, to slather on top of chicken or any type of meat that you're cooking, or even toss in with some roasted vegetables. So this kind of gives you a head start in your flavoring. The other one that I'm going to show you, the other trick, is making a flavored ghee. And ghee is a clarified butter that's been toasted a little bit. So that's the difference between ghee and clarified butter. Both have their milk solids removed, but with the ghee it's cooked just a little longer, so it has a more tawny color. So I'm going to set this butter aside. We're going to focus first on our compound butter. So you need about a stick or 2 sticks of butter, and this really depends on how much you want to make ahead of time. I've got 2 sticks of butter. This is equivalent to these are half a cup measure each, so a full cup of butter. And then you want them to soften. So if you see here, I can soften this really easily with this spoon here, which is actually normally used for making brown rice, but this is great for making a compound butter. So I'm going to set that aside and show you the herbs I'm going to use. I have some parsley. And with the parsley, I'm just going to take the leaves. The stems I will use later. Actually, you can flavor oils with the stems. So that's another technique that I'll show you in another video. So you take the little leaves off. And I'm just taking my knife to just get those leaves off. There might be a few stems, that's okay. And then we'll take, this is some marjoram. You can also use fresh oregano. And we're just going to take the leaves off, and I just pull it against the stem so that I can just get the leaves. That way you don't have to pick every leaf off. Unless you want to get a child busy on something, just tell them to pick every leaf off. How's that? That way they'll have something to do and it'll take them a little time. You gotta have those tricks if you're a busy mom and you're cooking a big meal, or a busy dad, or both, and you've got to get your kids, they're underfoot, they want to help. Those are some good tricks you can teach them. So I'm just going to put a little more marjoram in here. Actually, this part is oregano. So I have a little bit of mixture of oregano, marjoram. And I think, so the way I know how much to use is basically the fragrance. It's really strong. And I feel like for that amount of butter, this will be plenty. But now we're going to move on to our other herbs. And this is some fresh thyme I just got out of the backyard. So I got a nice herb garden that's growing out there. And we'll just put the thyme in, and again just move it against the grain, just pull back on it, and then you have the leaves down. I'm going to use all this thyme. It's not that much really. Wow, this is really aromatic. And now lastly we're going to use some rosemary, and this is a mixed herb compound butter. You could just use one type of herb only to make this, but I'm going to have a few different herbs going on in here, so it's going to be a little more complex, but it actually makes it kind of that sort of all-purpose herb butter. Okay, now we got a little pile, and then take your knife, hold it in a pinch grip. We're going to do what we call a rock and chop. Basically, you place your knife on the spine and you're going to cut across and just chop these really fine. You want them really tiny little pieces, so just mince really finely. Now, if you want to use dried herbs for this technique, you can use dried. I like the volatile oils in the fresh version though, so I really do like that. Okay, there, that's it. Okay, those are nice and fine. Just going to gather that together and put it in our bowl. Sprinkle it right across. Get as many of it as you can. Use the back of your knife if you don't have your bench scraper to gather any excess herbs that you have. That way, one, you don't dull your knife and you can get the herbs out. So, next is basically how you would cream butter. If you weren't using a mixer and you had to cream butter for cookies, this is the technique. You're just pressing your wooden spatula. I like the wooden rather than a rubber spatula because those are so flexible. They really kind of, you're fighting it, that flexibility. You want something a little bit sturdy like a wooden spoon to kind of mix this together. Okay. And that is compound butter. Now, I'm not quite through yet. I do want a little bit of sea salt in here, so I would add a little sea salt to go into this. I have that right here. So I think about a 1/4 teaspoon would be good, but I could go up to a 1/2. If you're feeling really daring, you could even put up to a teaspoon. That's pretty salty, but just remember that when you put it in. If you're a little worried that you'll forget, skip the salt. You could also put cracked pepper if you want. I'm gonna leave that out for this one and just crack my pepper at the end of my dishes. Okay, so now, this is how you set it all up so that you have, let me just wipe that off a little bit. Okay, so this is how we're going to set this compound butter up. One, to shape it, and if a little bit gets on your plastic, that's totally fine because it's going to actually be on the butter. Put your plastic wrap here, and then take your butter and put it right in. Just put it right in. This is where a spatula will be handy. So I'm just gonna scrape it in. And there's no real pretty like finessing, you just gotta get it out there and put it right into the plastic. You could also use parchment paper if you want, and then put it in a layer of parchment. But visually, I think you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little easier if I do it this way. Okay, so it's just a big pile right now. That little bit of butter that's left, I'm going to actually use it for something later today. But if you want to get it all out there, then scrape it all out. So you see what I'm doing? I'm taking my plastic wrap and I'm folding it in over the butter. That way I don't get butter all over my hands. And what I want to create is like basically a butter log. Okay, and I'm not ready to totally form it and seal it yet, but it's getting close. That looks pretty good. And then you can continue shaping it as you go. Wrap it around and then twist the ends. Okay, and then put it in there like that. And now label this because you can freeze these, and then when you need them, you can use them to flavor all your dishes, your stuffing, whatever you need. So I would make a few of these and then put them in the freezer so they're ready to go that week before Thanksgiving, Thursday. What is it, the 28th this year? Take them out, let them thaw, and then use them in your recipes. So that is our compound butter. Super easy, all done. Label it, date it, and you're ready to go. The next one, we're going to make ghee. So again, we'll use 2 sticks of butter, and I'm going to turn on my burner. So like I said before, ghee is basically a clarified butter, and this is a more Ayurvedic preparation, and it is cooked a little longer so that it turns a little bit kind of I call it a tawny color. It's not really brown, not really a brown butter, but it's just a little longer. So all you have to do here is melt the butter first. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flavor my ghee. Now, if you just want to make ghee just to cook with every day, do this practice. And when you do this and you take out the milk solids, it actually makes it easier. It actually increases the smoke point of your fat. Your butter won't burn. So ordinarily when you're cooking with butter, sometimes it burns and it's really disappointing because, you have to start over. It doesn't taste very good. But with ghee, you take out those milk solids and then increases your smoke point, and thus you can cook at a higher heat. And it's really delicious. So as you can see here, we are just letting that butter start to foam up a little bit. And now I'm going to add a few things to it to flavor it for a dessert. So this is one I was really excited about because, like I said, you could make plain ghee and that would be absolutely delicious. This is something you can do ahead of time so that you can have ghee for your holiday dinners and use that. And what we're going to do, I'm going to show you just plain and then I'm going to show you how I flavor it. So our plain ghee, we just let it bubble. You see how it's doing that, and some of them aren't even melted yet. But you see this foamy part here? This is the part I'm going to take off. So you just take that off. And in Ayurveda, in Ayurvedic medicine, this foamy part here is actually considered nutritious as well as the ghee itself. They say it's sort of a cure-all for colds and congestion. I don't know, yeah. I haven't actually tried it, but I've certainly read about it in a lot of Ayurvedic cookbooks and, you know, health books. It's an interesting concept. Maybe someday I'll try it. And if any of you have tried it, you know, let me know in your comments below. I think it's one way of something that I love to do is use everything and don't waste anything. So just because I'm skimming off this foam, if I don't have a dairy allergy like to the milk solids or anything, then yeah, sure, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So you can see how it's bubbling. And I'm going to just take off the foam. But now I'm going to switch gears for a minute and I'm going to flavor this. And I want to give it a kind of a cinnamon, kind of really nice spice blend that's suitable for desserts. So let me just lower the heat. And I just added some cinnamon stick. That just disappeared in there, didn't it? And then I have some, these are beautiful. These are star anise. So I'm going to get one for you that you can see. Oh, they're all kind of broken, but these are beautiful. They shape like stars when they're in their full piece. But they give a nice kind of a licoricey scent to them that I really like. And then in addition to that, we're going to do a little bit of green cardamom pods. So we'll put about 3 of those in there. All right, so let's continue skimming. And so we skim until we see all the way down to the bottom of the pot. And you can see the clear bottom. You might see a few toasted edges, but you definitely don't want it to be any kind of brown color. You just want it to have that light, just a medium, kind of a light tan color. So you can see I'm really getting through here. There's a lot of foam coming up, and those are all the milk solids. Don't worry if it pops on you. Part of the nature of the beast, so just be mindful of that. This is something that, again, these are the types of things that you can do ahead in your kitchen when it's calm, you know, when there's not a lot to do. And then when you have this for the holiday week, it's all done. You don't have to go, oh my gosh, I gotta make my ghee, I gotta make my compound butter, and then, you know, maybe you skip it. But I'm trying to help you guys really enhance your recipes, and your friends, your family will be like, oh my God, I can't believe you made that from scratch. What did you do? Were you in the kitchen all day? Well, you may have been. You know, I'm going to be honest. You may have been. But you'd be in there a whole lot longer if you didn't do these things ahead of time. And, you know, you made it, right? And if you have extra, if you think about it, flavored ghee, or even ghee itself in the jar, it's such a great gift. This is one of those gifts that come from the heart of your kitchen. All right, so I'm going to keep going here a little longer. So this takes a few minutes. You'll see how it's still bubbling up. And I'm going to come back to it in a minute because I want it to calm down a little bit. And I also want those spices to infuse. And I'm thinking, you know, I might just add a little more spice to it. And by doing that, I'm going to show you a little spice blend that I love to make, which was one that I learned from one of my mentors, Dr. Ed Bowman, who created a really beautiful spice blend called the Spice of Life. And I just wanted to show it to you as part of, you know, kind of the compilation of make-ahead dishes that you can make. So I'm going to turn off the heat on this so that It's just going to foam up on its own. And then I'll take that last bit of foam. But it's so hot right now. As the ghee starts collecting all that foam, I'll skim it off again, and then we'll strain it. And I'll show you how we do that. So let's make our spice of life. And then from there, we'll flavor this ghee a little more. So for the spice of life, you want to make a big batch of this. So this is cinnamon. So we got about 4 tablespoons of cinnamon that goes in here. And just find a jar that you're going to designate as this spice mixture. And then there's about a tablespoon of cardamom. So get some good fresh ground cardamom. And then 3 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. Get that in there. And about a tablespoon, or actually no, I'm sorry, 2 teaspoons of your allspice. And 2 teaspoons of fresh nutmeg. Lastly, we're going to do a little bit of zest. So I'm going to zest this right into this little jar. I'm just going to hold it upright. So sometimes when we microplane the citrus, we go this way. I like to go upwards so that I can see the zest coming up through the little holes. And that way I know how much I have. Now, let me take the sticker off. Silly me. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So this smells very aromatic. I'm actually gonna put a little bit of this zest right into my ghee because I just think that would be really delicious. And then I'm gonna save the rest. Let's put that in. Ooh, those are those oils from the orange. So I'm just going to zest this. Now, if you want to take it an extra step with this spice blend, you could zest all of your peel and then dry them overnight in the lowest temperature of your oven or in a dehydrator. But I'm just going to add it in. I think it'll be just fine. It'll all dry together. But if you don't want it to clump, then dry it. So I'm just going to get it out of here, and I'm going to put it in this pot here for a minute. Okay, so we're just going to put that right in here for a little bit and just let it. So once you zest or microplane a little bit of citrus, a lot of oil comes out right away. And so if you just set it aside a little bit, just when it hits the air, it starts to dry out right away. It's something I've found out through experience. All right, if you want more orange, feel free to add the zest or microplane of another orange, grated orange. So now once we have the spice blend, sans the zest right now, we're just gonna shake this. So shake it really well so it mixes up together. Make sure you cap it well. And now you have your spice of life. Oh, isn't that nice? Okay, so then I'm just gonna get a little spoon here of this, about half a tablespoon. I'm gonna add it to my ghee. Okay, so before I do, I just wanna skim off what I can see, because once I add spice, it's gonna get cloudy. So let's take out the little bit of, and if your spices come up, that's okay. I just took a little piece of cardamom, that's okay. And you want to make sure you get as much of the foamy bit as you can. And we're going to catch the rest of it here in this next part of this dish. Now you see how it's a little bit, you see how there's a little browning there? There's little brown bits in the bottom. And see, that makes it the ghee. I think if you went a little longer, you could get a more toasted flavor, but I like this. I can already smell the orange in there. And so now let me add the spice. Just whisk that in. Take a little whisk. So it's pretty cloudy now. And see how it got foamy again? It's like the work is never done. Let's skim that off again. Oh yeah. It's funny how the spice made it come up. You see how it's dark, and that's the spice. Now this butter, this ghee actually, this flavored ghee is going to be used in one of my desserts in our holiday cooking workshop that we have that follows our mini series. So if you're interested in signing up for that, we'll give you all the information about that. So you know what to do with all of these homemade staples. Okay, so there's a little bit there, but that's okay. I'm going to now strain this into a jar. So when you make your ghee, have a jar ready. And then what I did here is you can get these really nice muslin bags for tea, but I just tore this because it fit beautifully. So sometimes you can kind of use what you have on hand. I just want an extra layer here so that when I pour my ghee in, actually let me just do one more thing. So sometimes, you know, when you're cooking, you got to anticipate possible accidents. I see this little piece of cinnamon here, and I know it's just going to plop and get all over me. So I'm just going to lay it right here. I will use this later. Just wash that cinnamon. You can use it again several times. It still has plenty of flavor in it. Okay, so now we're going to pour this through. And that little bit of muslin is going to catch any residual milk solid, that little bit of foam. Okay. It's hot. You can press it out. Okay. And now, so this yields about, look at that. See, that's 2 sticks of butter. It doesn't even fill this jar. So if you want to make a jar full, you're going to have to go with maybe another 4 sticks of butter or so. But this is a perfect amount to make a really nice spice cake, or to even to add to a glaze for any kind of dessert that you're making. Use this as your fat, instead of butter, and it's going to taste delicious. So that's what we have here today. We have spiced ghee, spiced with cinnamon, cardamom, allspice, the orange zest, ginger, and then we have, and nutmeg of course, and then we have our compound butter. Look what we did. I don't even think that took that long, did it? So if you multiply this, maybe make twice as much, 3 times as much, depending on how much food you need to make, you'll have plenty in your freezer. You probably will have extra beyond the holidays or into the next round of holidays after Thanksgiving. So I encourage you to give it a try. If you have any questions, please email us at Lizette@kitchentreasures.org or hello@kitchentreasures.org. See you soon.